Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And today we have a couple topics we are going to talk to you guys about.
Indeed we do, and I will say that I'm a little bit relieved because mine is not nearly as serious as the last 3 episodes, so...
You took a break from it? You're like, I need to take a breather from the seriousness?
Yeah, from the super true crime. I mean, it's all true crime, but the super duper awful true crime. Yeah, taking a step back. So, Robin, what are you going to be covering this episode?
I am going to be covering Haunted Bridges.
It's
going to be my second one, because I've done a Haunted Bridges episode before.
I was going to say, it sounds familiar, so that's pretty exciting. The first time you did Goatman's Bridge, I'm pretty sure?
I've done...
Or was it a separate topic?
I've done separate topics, too.
Okay, cool.
Bridges, apparently I like them.
Right on. So this week, I'm going to be covering the cryptid known as the Grassman. So... I'm pretty excited about that. In fact, I believe I am going first because I'm so excited this week, so that's pretty cool. I guess I'll just jump right in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So this week, I am happy to step back from the psychotic mind of Charles Manson and his family, and step back into the world that I love, which is the world of cryptids. Mainly because if they are evil, they have glowing red eyes, and if they do awful things, you can just choose not to believe in them, unlike serial killers and people that control other people's minds. What better cryptid to welcome me back to the world of the supernatural than something big, hairy, and from the Midwest like me? So, dear listener, I present to you the Grassman. I really thought you'd laugh at that joke.
I just can't imagine, what this thing could possibly be.
Okay, I have a really good description for this one, so I'm pretty proud of this.
Okay.
So now, I know what you're thinking. The Grassman sounds like your local weed dealer or the name of your local dispensary, depending on what state or country you live in, and the legality of marijuana.
I feel like a store that named itself the Grassman is just so silly. I would not shop there because I want something hip.
Hip?
Yeah.
Okay. I also put, or maybe some lesser known Bob Dylan song, and then I put, I'd also like to point out that at this point, I did consider writing a couple bars of fake Bob Dylan lyrics, but decided against it.
What's a Bob Dylan song?
Oh my god, I'll play some for you after this.
Okay.
Those things would all be incorrect if those were your guesses. The Grassman is actually a cryptid who makes the Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Ohio its home. If you don't know where that is, it's between Cleveland and Akron. And if you're not familiar with Ohio, think northeast Ohio. So if you know where Ohio is, just think the northeast part of it. Unless you're like Robin, then you're probably picturing Utah right now. And there's nothing I can do for you. For whatever reason, Robin mixes up Utah and Ohio very frequently. It's like we have a friend who's originally from Ohio, but they had family who lived in Utah. So when we talk in conversation, they would get transposed. We talk about the Midwest, and she'd be like, back in Utah, right? And I'd be like, wait, what? I'm so confused now. So, it's Ohio, though, not Utah, Midwest. Okay, cool. So, let's just say you happen to be in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and you want to know what to be on the lookout for. Here is a description of the Grassman. The creature is said to resemble Bigfoot, so it is a Squatch-like creature. So you know it's gotta be real. An average height on the creature is from 6 to 7 feet, but it said the smaller Grassmans come in at 5 feet tall, and the taller Grassmen can grow up to 10 feet tall. So that is a pretty big range. Side note, this information comes from a few different websites, and they have apparently all observed and or captured enough of these creatures that they have a sample size for this variation of measurement, or it's all speculation, otherwise known as bullshit. Anywho, 6 to 7 feet's your normal range, 5-foot shouties, and 10-foot tall boys. The weight is anywhere between 300 and 1,000 pounds, estimated, but they stay between 350 and the 500-pound range, meaning that the ones that are at those 1,000-pound marks probably have a show called My 1,000-Pound Grassman Life that airs on Grassman TV.
You obviously can't measure something off that, though, right?
You can't measure something that you've never actually captured.
Because it could have bird bones and be the lightest creature.
Yeah, you have no idea. So the fact that they have all these statistics for it is a little bit crazy, but, I mean, if you're looking at it speculatively, then I understand that this is what they would assume the weight of the creature and the height of the creature would be. And we're going to get into some sightings a little bit later, and I will say that I'm not sure where they got the range of the height from. But yeah, we're just going to keep going. So you're picturing this Sasquatch-like creature pretty well at this point, I hope. Its face is covered in long hair and is obscured, so you can't really see its features, although it's said to have a snub nose, deep-set eyes, and no neck. So it's just really ripped, has really broad shoulders, and you can't really see its neck. Its hair is black, gray, or brown, and is known to be smooth or shaggy.
So why is it called the Grassman?
Because it lives in an area of the forest that is very grassy, very green.
Okay.
So as far as the hair goes, it's said to be smooth or shaggy, and it probably just depends on the last time it showered and whether or not it rinsed and repeated.
Well, I mean, that definitely goes for humans, too. I mean, sometimes your hair looks nice, and sometimes you're greasy and gross as fuck.
Yeah, and there's actually a sighting of a Grassman that was in water. So it might have just been bathing and it got caught, and that's why it might have come out looking all shiny.
Okay.
But who knows? Its arms are longer than they should be. So the arms are not proportional to the body, similar to some sort of like ape-like creature. Its shoulders, like I mentioned, are said to be very wide, and its eyes are either glowing red or glowing orange, which is the first I've heard of for a Squatch-like creature.
So red would be the bad guys, and orange are the good guys.
Orange are the ones that probably are like anti-heroes, so they're like a little bit of Wolverine, where they're like, I don't want to do the right thing, but I guess I will, fuck. And
is
then
that
the red
how
ones,
Wolverine thinks?
that's how he talks. I just nailed it. That was Hugh Jackman right there. It's like he was in the studio with us. And they stink like rot, and the smell lingers for days after they've gone. So, good thing to know. Now, it's been known to growl or bark, and it has a heavy breath that is very identifiable. It's also known to have the ability to emit the sound of a crying baby or a screaming female human. So, two haunting things. I do have to point out at this point that so much seems to be known about this particular brand of Sasquatch that it seems weird to me that there isn't a name, or at least one that I could find, for the female Grassman, because they speak of them as if there's just a bunch of them out there, and no one says like Grass Woman or Grass Maiden or anything like that, Grass Lady. They just say Grassman. So a little bit boring, so I guess Grass Woman would work. I'm just proposing that to any cryptozoologists who might be listening. Now, they're said to be seen in packs of up to 5 at a time. I'm not sure if they live in families similar to humans do, or why that is, but it's said that they do travel in packs. It seems really weird because if we know so much about them, why am I not seeing like a gaggle of Grassmen on the news all the time?
Okay.
Because if there's so many of them that they're traveling in packs, you figure that's what we'd be seeing. Additional details I'm unclear on are how they obtained this information is their diet. So apparently they eat primarily deer, in particular deer's legs, which are twisted off of the deer. And they take the deer's liver. They don't take any of the other inside organs from the deer except the liver. Side note, that's gross.
It's like when Voldemort just sucked the blood out of the unicorns and left the rest.
That's like vampiric. They literally would just like have to identify like where your liver is, just reach in and take it out and like leave the rest behind. Liver's gross in general. Like chicken liver's gross me out too.
I mean, liverwurst is good.
It's just, I don't know, it's not for me. They also apparently have a rare thing entered into their diet, which is dogs, which is horrific. So if you live in this area, don't let your dog stray too far away.
How do they know this is what they eat?
I'm guessing there's just been like mutilated animal corpses that they blamed on the Grassman. Let's choose to forget that terrible detail, though. Although it would explain the red eyes, I'm guessing that any
it's like in
Grassman
Twilight
that has red eyes definitely ate a dog.
It's like in Twilight. If you drink human blood, you have red eyes, and if you drink animal blood, you have like nice amber eyes.
I didn't know that was a thing.
What?
Man, I hate those books. They are apparently incredibly strong, possessing superhuman strength, and very aggressive. Their behavior, if they notice the fact that they're being observed, becomes very aggressive, which is kind of terrifying. Although the Native American writings on the creature appear to indicate they can also be peaceful. They are said to be very, very intelligent as well, which would explain why they're able to avoid being detected. I wonder if they can reset a router or something like that, because there's a bunch of human beings that can't do that. It's said that in the 1700s, however, the Native Americans of the area spoke of a species of ape men they called the wild ones of the woods that they had been living in harmony with for centuries. They stated that they would leave food for them as an offering, and the wild ones would essentially leave them alone, stay in the woods, and they lived in harmony. Now, I know this description sounds very similar to Bigfoot, since we have had Bigfoot as a topic on the show, or even its eastern cousin, the Yeti, or western, depending on which side of the globe you decide to go on.
All right.
Aside from super specific details on this creature that seemed to be really weird, there was a few things that got me thinking, just how frequently has the grass men or grass woman or grass people come out to play that we have all of this information? It seems like I haven't really heard too much about this. How many documented cases are there out there? Or just reported cases of Grassman sighting? And it turns out the answer to that question is there's kind of a lot. And
really?
I didn't realize that, no. The earliest sighting I was able to locate happened back in 1869. Side note, nice.
I knew it.
A carriage was I literally didn't put it in my script. I was like, be an adult for once. And then I just read it. I was like, can't help it. A carriage was traveling through northeast Ohio in this region with a man and his daughter sitting side by side steering the vehicle. Suddenly and without warning, a huge hairy beast smelling like a turd covered in burnt hair came charging out of the local woods and attacked the man on the carriage. It reached out with these giant human-like, albeit ape-like hands and attempted to pull him from his seat. He struggled with it, and as he did, his daughter jumped off the carriage, grabbed some rocks, and began pelting the creature with them. This quick thinking on her part was apparently enough to get the creature to release her father and retreat back into the woods. So she has essentially saved his life, if this thing was real. She threw whatever rock she could find at this creature, and eventually was like, this is too much trouble. I'm just going to go tear some legs off some deer. And it left. So that was the first, official sighting of the Grassman, which is kind of terrifying. It attacked just someone who was, cruising on through in a carriage, and you just don't really think of Sasquatch coming out of the woods to attack human beings. So this one certainly seems more aggressive. The creature was estimated to be 9 feet tall, so it was of the tall boy variety. Okay. Now, although I can find references to sightings, like various sightings throughout the early 1900s and sort of general topics like that, I can't find anything specific aside from just references to this creature, which became legend after this attack in various parts of northeastern Ohio, most notably the Cuyahoga Valley National Forest. These sightings take place over the next 110 years.
Wow.
So it's relatively quiet, nothing really big. It's just I think I saw something in the woods, but the legend continues to grow. Then, in August of 1978, there was an incident. Y'all remember 1978, right? That's my favorite part of the show sometimes.
What? Because you're nobody.
I can do my flashbacks on the years.
Oh, God, okay.
Average price of a home, $54,800. Gallon of gas was 63 cents. Average rent for an apartment, $260.
Oh, jeez, I wish.
Garfield debuted in the newspapers. I once wrote Jim Henson for a school project. That one's kind of near and dear to my heart. He wrote me back. I was one of the only people to receive.
Did he really write you back?
He signed it. Okay. He hand signed it, so I don't know. His assistant probably typed it out, and he was like, whatever. Sent it to the stupid 10-year-old. It was very nice of him. What else happened that year? There was 3 popes that year. No bullshit. Yeah, Pope Paul VI died. John Paul I took over and died in 33 days. And then John Paul II took over. He held in there for quite some time. So
wow.
a year with 3 popes is pretty weird. Grease released in theaters. That's awesome.
That's
I know you love that
cool.
one.
Yeah.
And The Deer Hunter came out in theaters. So 2 really fun, feel-good movies. It's really intense Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
That story. In addition to all that stuff, something went down in a little town known as Minerva in Ohio. Shout out to Adventure Zone for having the character from a different planet named Minerva.
Oh, my God.
A town just 50 miles south of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So very close. Evelyn and Hal Clayton were enjoying a nice day in the dog days of summer. This is August. Their grandchildren were playing outside when they started screaming and ran inside. They grabbed them and asked them what the hell they were screaming about. And I imagine at this point they also probably beat them because it was 1978 and hitting kids was super trendy back then. It just lasted like that for a long time. That said, when they finally got the kids to explain what freaked them out, they stated there was a, quote, hairy monster outside. Side note, words hurt, kids. I've been called that before. God.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
That's so...
By you.
Oh, okay. That doesn't count.
Evelyn and Hal went outside, probably telling the kids while they're heading outside, there's no monster out there. Monsters are holy shit, there's a monster outside. They claim to have seen a creature that resembled an ape with very dark fur weighing approximately 300 pounds.
How do they give it a weight? I don't get it.
Don't know. Like, I'm not sure why this description they gave is weight and not height. Although maybe the creature was stepping on their backyard scale when they came upon it, since we all have those. They claimed the creature was sitting in their gravel pit, in which they disposed trash, where it was playing with the garbage. And that image is actually kind of cute. Like, I imagine, like, broken toys, and it's like, meow.
Oh my god.
That's just my head, though. So they then noped the fuck out, went back inside, dragged their grandkids in, and I believe, based off the details of the story, which are very general, that they called some form of local authority, whether it's animal control or the police, but by the time they arrived, the creature had departed. And that's if you believe that story. There is another version of the story out there about the same incident, and according to the second version of this story, the Caton family, the L is left out in this version, they heard their dogs barking outside and went to discover a creature in their, quote, trash pit. I like that in this version the family has a different name, the children have been replaced with dogs, and the gravel pit is now simply a junk hole in their yard. This version...
You don't have a junk hole?
No, I don't have a junk hole. I guess it's a pool, but we keep it clean. This version also does not explain what the family did after finding the creature, but it does not say that they ran inside this time. It just basically cuts to the next chapter at them discovering a Sasquatch in their junk hole. So it's really hard to take this version seriously. And then the next chapter in that story states that the creature came back a few nights later and stared into the house through the kitchen window. Hal ran and got his gun to give the creature a healthy dose of bullets, but by the time he made it outside, the creature had disappeared like Kaiser fucking Soze. He's gone.
I wonder if they could hear you blowing.
Probably not. That's a weird sentence. Anyways,
oh my God.
This time they did call the police. The investigation turned up no Grassman or Grasswoman, but they did find a very large footprint in the mud outside the couple's home. In addition to that, the property smelled like rot. It smelled awful, which was apparently not normal, although I think the source of that smell may have been their garbage hole in their yard. A third sighting by the Claytons/Catons occurred before the end of the year. The creature appeared on top of a hill next to a local strip mine that the couple was able to see from their home.
What's a strip mine?
I just imagine it's a mine. I will say, when I first read this story, I thought the article said strip club, and I was really disappointed when I reread it, and I was like, oh, damn. Like, I was going to work some good jokes into my script with that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Again, the creature did not hang out long, but it did appear to enjoy the spot, because less than a month later, the creature was sighted by the couple again at the strip mine. That, now come to think of it, could just be the name of a strip club for minors. The strip mine. That would work, too.
It could just be this couple making crap up,
yeah.
right?
I put this time the creature had come out in broad daylight again. So after a century of staying out of the spotlight, the Grassman gets spotted 4 times in 1 year. Or these people are really addicted to being full of shit, and they like the attention they got, so they just kept saying they kept seeing it come back. So after 1978, the Grassman goes back into hiding. He doesn't stay hidden for long, though. Not even a full 20 years. So it's not the full century that it took last time. Our next sighting takes place in 1995. Y'all remember 1995, right? I gotta say, it's way less humorous for me to do this when I'm calling back years I totally remember being alive for. House cost $113,150 on average. $113,150 on average. Gas was $1.09 a gallon. Rent was averaging $550. Bunch of fun stuff in 1955. Oklahoma City bombing. The heat wave in the U.S. killed 3,000 people, 750 in Chicago alone.
Wow.
And O.J. was found innocent. Quite a year. Movies that came out in 1955. Toy Story 1. 1995. Toy Story 1, Batman Forever, Apollo 13, Pocahontas, Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls, GoldenEye, Casper, Jumanji, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Braveheart.
That's
pretty
a
solid year for movies. Here's a hot take. Best of all those, Casper. Fight me. Go ahead. I'm just kidding. It's Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Okay.
Or Apollo 13. They're actually all very good
what's wrong
movies.
with Jumanji?
There's nothing wrong with Jumanji.
Oh, okay.
They're all really good movies. Anyways, 1995. This event takes place July 4th, 1995. That's right, y'all. Independence Day. Welcome to Earth. What do you think when you hear July 1995? Do you think 25 years ago? Because that's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Congrats. You're old. Anyways, July 4th, 1995, 3 men headed to take a night hike to watch the fireworks on a railroad that ran parallel to Riverview Road. Riverview Road is a road that runs through this park along the Cuyahoga River, which is a lyric in a song in the movie Major League, which is why I know how to say the word Cuyahoga.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, they're on this train track. It might just be a trail at this point, and they're going through the park. 3 dudes, night hike, America's birthday. What could be better, right? At 11:30 p.m., the trio of bros heard what they described as a high-pitched scream, similar to a coyote or a peacock, but raspier. I assume that everyone knows what a peacock sounds like, right? Robin, do you know what a peacock sounds like when it screams?
I don't want to hear it.
Well, I'm going to play it so you know what it sounds like. Ready?
No, I'm scared. Oh, it sounds like a baby crying.
It does sound like a baby crying, right? Little bit. Like, I understand now why people think it has this ability to sound like a baby crying. My initial bit for this was to have the volume super fucking cranked up and scare the shit out of you. And I texted my mom, like, hey, if you hear something around 2 a.m. that sounds like a child screaming, it's just me trying to scare Robin. I decided not to do it.
Is that what you were saying? Like,
yeah.
Oh, you stupid asshole. And, like, before the show started, he's like, I'll just make sure my mom texts me back or whatever.
I was trying to see if she acknowledged it.
Oh, my God.
That's why I turned it down, because she didn't text me back. Anyways, so they hear that sound for about 5 seconds and decided it's probably just some normal wildlife enjoying the night. And they hike into heavily wooded areas for a bit. Eventually, they decide they're going to head back. It's getting quite late. When they get near the clearing from which they entered the heavily wooded area, they hear that sound again. That sound being... This time, it's much louder, it's raspier, it lasts for about 10 seconds, and it sounds like it's coming from approximately 50 feet in front of them.
It's actually just Katy Perry out there going, I want to see your peacock.
I hate you so much. At about the time the sound fades out, after 10 seconds of that, they see a massive bipedal creature start charging towards them in the darkness of the night. In fact, it's probably safer to say that they heard it first, because this creature was in a marsh 50 feet in front of them in the water, chest deep, which was very deep water. It was only chest deep on this creature, and it starts moving towards them with this weird ferocity.
I would start running.
And strength, and it just moves super fast towards them. And
it's Jason Voorhees. He swims really fast.
He swims really fast. So it's not shocking to hear that at this point they decided, of course, to nope the fuck out. They full speed sprint back to their car. The creature gets out of the water and chases them roughly to the edge of the marshy area and then stops. They make it back to their car and they leave with a story to tell and soiled underpants all around. Side note, I don't know if they actually shit their pants, but if they say that they didn't, it would make me believe their story less, because I don't know how you wouldn't with a massive creature chasing you through the forest in the middle of the night. So, then it goes quiet again. Another 20 years pass. Then 2015 hit. Y'all remember 2015, right? It was only 5 years ago, so you probably fucking should, and if you don't, take some memory exercises. The site I go to for historical events doesn't even list anything prior to 2013 because it's not technically like historical yet. It's still current events. So I guess here's 2015 that I remember. I got a job at Tesla in 2015. Syria was going down. Aaron Hernandez's trial. Gas prices still sucked. Robin and I lived in an apartment, and CJ and I were toying around with the idea of starting Nerd Chills. That's 2015. Also
wow,
in
that
2015.
Was only 5 years ago?
Right?
Dang.
Also in Ohio in 2015 in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. A guy named Paul Seaburn heard some bizarre calls coming from the forest. He heard it coming from multiple directions, indicating that there were multiple creatures calling to each other, creating these sounds. And he identified these sounds similar enough to speculate that they're all from the same species, similar to how wolves howl for each other to identify their locations if they get separated. He had a phone in his pocket. We always say, if all these things exist, where are all the videos of this? And because it's dark, and he can't just record the sky during the sound, he just took his phone out, and he recorded a sound file, and here it is.
I'm scared for some reason. Sounds like the siren for Silent Hill.
It does, but keep listening to this.
I'm scared. Is it not a wolf?
No, do wolves howl? It's coming, I swear. That's what she said.
I'm just really scared. Sounds really windy.
Yeah, I think it's actually the river that you're hearing. This is the Cuyahoga River as it just flows through.
Oh, okay.
But the creepiest part about that is the end. You hear two different ones, and it could just be people in the woods yelling. You know, it could absolutely be fake. But like, it went from okay, maybe he had a friend going to the woods like far away and yell.
It was like one sound and then another sound, and then a lot of silence, and then another sound, and then a sound that sounded different, like a different tone, and then it went back to the original.
Yeah, it's like there's two on top of each other almost calling at the same time. So it could be an animal, it could be a hoax, or who knows? It could be the Grassman, or Grassmen, or Grasswoman. So that's 2015. That's what you get out of 2015, is this really creepy call that someone takes out their phone and records and says, I don't know what this is, but it sounds like whatever they are, they're calling each other. So it's kind of scary. Like, imagine being in the woods late at night and hearing that shit, you know?
Yeah.
So you heard how loud the river was. Can you imagine how loud that must have been ringing through the fucking trees? I'd be like, get me into a shelter or a car so I can drive out of this place immediately. So aside from this, there are no other documented incidents in 2015. Paul Seaburn speculated that if the creature does exist, it makes sense for it to call this park home because he is familiar with the geography of this park, and there are many caves in this park that it would make sense for this creature to call its own home, which would also shelter it from visitors or prying eyes, which makes total sense. I mean, there's a lot of creatures that live in caves and national parks.
Yeah. And
it would make sense that if this creature is highly intelligent, it knows how to take shelter. So that's the speculation from the gentleman who recorded that clip in 2015. Then, in 2017, we come to our final piece of quote-unquote evidence. 2017, quick recap. I still worked for Tesla. Nerd Chills was in full swing. The end of 2017, this podcast started, in fact. Robin and I lived where we live right now. Movies were like Baby Driver, Justice League. The Falcons in the NFL blew a 28-3 lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. That one stings from anyone that's still from Atlanta. In Ohio, in February of 2017, a video is uploaded to YouTube claiming to capture the Grassman on film. The user that uploads this video is named Find Bigfoot. So if you Google Grassman 2017 or this person's username, you'll likely find this. At the risk of steering traffic to this dude's video, feel free to check it out on YouTube. We're about to watch it and comment while we do. So here we go for that.
Okay, the thing I hate right now.
Near viral.
It says near viral. Okay. It looks like a dude walking in the forest, in the woods. He could be in a hoodie.
Someone pointed out that at one point during this video, it looks like there's something white off the side of this like creature's hide, which would just be like a tag on clothing. And then later on in the video, someone calls out that They think they see a white iPhone in his hand. So we'll keep going here.
Really?
We'll see if you can spot the iPhone as this person makes their... it's like someone's watching through a series of trees, and then they like swoop around to get a better angle, which would have totally like exposed them, because they get a better angle, exposing them to a clear path between them and the creature. And also they're very loud as they crunch their way through leaves and twigs. What?
Oh, come on, man. It's looking on its phone.
It seriously looks like a dude just checking his phone right now. And that's the video.
It looks like a dude in a hoodie, just walking around, maybe being a little bit of a creeper. Maybe he just wants to go out into the woods, have a little me time.
It's that dude's friend. They went out there to film this video together. I'm sorry, like, I have seen a lot of fake videos because I've researched Sasquatch and the Yeti and all those things. This is the fakest video I've ever seen. I classified it in my script as fake as fuck in all caps.
Yeah.
It's just, it's annoying. And there's certain things where if you're trying to like build up a legend and then you release stuff like this, it kind of just destroys pretty much all credibility. I do think it's odd that since the 70s, the sightings only seem to take place every 20 years, as cryptids like this tend to have really large floods of sightings crop up around each other. And, that's just sort of the nature of people, as they hear that there's been a sighting, and then all of a sudden everyone starts seeing the same thing. But in this case, it's just like in the 70s, there was one person, or there's a couple of people who saw this thing repeatedly, Then the 90s people see it, in 95, then in 2015 someone hears it. And then I'm not counting 2017 because it's clearly a bullshit video. But if you want to check it out, that's like the piece of evidence that everyone tries to refer to on the internet. I saw people
silly.
writing descriptions of this video like, it clearly shows a creature wandering through the woods. The creature is a creepy dude or a liar. So it's like it's a human being either way you slice it. It's just highly suspicious that it's so much is claimed to be quote unquote known about this creature, despite that the only documented sightings have them appearing alone. Like they say, they travel in packs of 5. Every sighting that's ever happened of one of these creatures has been the creature by itself, including this video.
The audio is cool, though.
Yeah, I do like the audio part, because, like, it makes more sense that there's just a creature out there with a really weird call that no one can quite identify. It could be a coyote.
Yeah.
I was listening to coyote calls, too. They're definitely higher pitched. They sound a lot different. And it definitely does sound like a peacock, but I don't know if there's any peacocks in the Cuyahoga National Forest. So it's really hard to tell. It could be a hoax based off an urban legend from the 1800s, but lack of evidence is not evidence to me, You can't just disprove something by saying, well, I've never seen it, and a bunch of people have never seen it, therefore it doesn't exist. That's just lazy science. So it's difficult to make a call here. All I know for sure is that the truth is out there.
Wow. All right.
And that is the legend of the Grassman. And I hope you enjoyed it.
No, thank you. It's a nice change of pace.
It's
from
definitely
the past few
way
weeks.
less intense than, and then they tried to cut the baby out of her belly.
Jesus.
So
Okay.
we didn't have that this week. All right, so before we move on to our next topic, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
And we are back. Welcome to the second half of this episode. Glad you're here. Glad you've made it. Thank you. Hello.
Glad you made it through my topic. Welcome back.
So I'm going to be covering some haunted bridges today. We have been sent a couple of topic suggestions over the entire expanse that is this podcast. We've been doing this for almost 3 years now. Many times they are about certain railroad tracks or bridges, and I kind of took inspiration from that this week and decided to look into a couple supposedly haunted bridges. There's a number of bridges that I'd personally like to go see because I think bridges are really pretty and they're really cool.
You're an engineer, so that makes sense for you to like bridges.
When I was younger, I used to put puzzles together. And there was one that I put together that was a really pretty covered bridge. And it was this covered bridge. It had like windows on the sides though. And it was like surrounded by flowers and trees. And there's like the water and stuff like that. I just think they're pretty. Okay.
They can definitely be pretty. I grew up by a bridge that's straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. It's called the Old Rickety Bridge.
Oh, gosh.
It was a one-lane bridge made of wood that crossed over 2 sets of train tracks. So if it collapsed, you were landing on train tracks that were pretty much in use all the fucking time, which is why they built the bridge in the first place.
All right.
And you had to, like, sort of self-regulate who is passing through, and the entire time you're passing through, it's like you could hear the board shaking underneath you.
That's terrifying.
It was terrifying. At some point, there was no accident there, but they decided, like, rip it down, put in an actual, like, road that's a bridge over the top of it. They built it up and they did that. But I remember the old rickety bridge was, as a kid, like, exciting, because it was as close to, like, a roller coaster as you could. Yeah, it was like danger without being at an amusement park. All
right. Well, there are a lot of pretty bridges that I'd like to see, and maybe one or two of these supposedly haunted ones. But some of these quote-unquote haunted bridges are just too scary. You look at them and you're like, no, I don't want to touch that, because it's just absolutely terrifying looking. Like the Goatman's Bridge, I'm good. I don't want to go to that one. Like,
I wouldn't mind going to it if we were in Texas. I'm not going to make a trip just for it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
No, but no, too scared. Anyway, so this first one is called the River Styx Bridge. It's near Medina, Ohio, which is funny that you talked about Ohio today too. And it's named so because of both a nearby community and a river of the same name. So there is a River Styx.
They named a river the River Styx?
I guess so.
That's pretty messed up.
Those that don't know, the River Styx in Greek mythology is a river that is the gateway between the earth and the world of the living, and then the underworld. So It's very strange that they would name something that's a little weird. Pretty ominous.
There's a Simpsons episode where they cover the Odyssey.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's Homer's Odyssey, so they have Homer going through it. And when he crosses the River Styx, they have the band Styx playing in the background.
That's pretty
They're
good.
Playing Lady, and all the skeletons on the shores of the River Styx have, like, lighters, and they're, like, headbanging to the song. I always picture that when I hear River Styx.
All right.
If it wasn't a copyright strike, I'd totally put Lady in here right now for about 10 seconds. I don't know what song that is.
I hate you Is that the one that goes, "You're my lady"?
That's the one. You nailed it.
Okay, so legend goes that in the late 1800s, a train derailed on the River Styx Bridge, and it killed one person, a single person. It was the engineer attempting to stop the train from derailing, and they were crushed when the train left the tracks, which is unfortunate. They say that there's a ghost train that traverses the bridge.
We just watched the Rick and Morty episode with the ghost train guy. This is nuts.
What? Wait, there's a... Oh, you're right. Anyway, we just rewatched Rick and Morty, but it comes crashing down. So this ghost train supposedly comes crashing down into a fiery inferno in the creek below, and it's like it repeats what happened to it hundreds of years before. There's really no evidence of this actually happening, so... It's not like someone recorded a ghost of, like, a train, you know? Those that have hunted for this ghost train have been able to take photos of orbs, something that Adam strongly disagrees with the existence of.
I think that it's feasible that orbs exist. I just think a lot of times people get, like, dust motes that are hit by the light or the flash, and I always point them out. These orbs.
I always point them out when I'm watching TV or like Ghost Adventures or see pictures online and stuff like that. But Adam's just like, no.
Dust.
Yeah.
Someone posted a video to the Spooky Friends group of an investigation that they did that showed an orb, and at first I was like, it's just a reflection of a car. It's just going to be light hitting a dust mote, and then it rapidly changes directions. I was like, that's a demon. Like, that one, I was just like, okay, I'm a believer. So there are certain ones that behave oddly enough for me to be like, okay, this could be a thing.
The ones that freak me out are when weird things happen and this orb either comes out of somebody or goes into somebody.
Right.
That's what freaks me out. Anyway, others that have gone to the bridge claim that they hear a ghostly whistling of a train. And I think...
sounds very Ghostbusters too.
It's just, if there are train tracks there, wouldn't there be train tracks nearby? And if a train goes off, then you'd hear the whistling of the train from far away.
That does make a lot of sense, yeah.
So that part, I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, whatever. There isn't too much information on the actual incident of when the train crashed. There's not like a whole bunch out there. Just a couple like newspaper stories, various paranormal websites. What is known that happened was that the Erie Limited, that was the name of the train, was heading west from Akron, Ohio.
Really eerie.
In the early morning hours of March 22nd, 1899. And on this trip, the driving rod on engine number 5 snapped. So the engineer, Alexander W. Logan, tried his best to keep the train on track, noticing that something was obviously wrong with it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to prevent the coming disaster. The train ultimately did veer off the track and crashed at the trestle over the River Styx. The community of River Styx is just a little over 6 miles away from Medina as well, so there's just like a whole bunch of River Styx stuff. Anyway, he was, however, able to make it so that all the passengers on the train survived.
That's pretty heroic.
Yeah,
dude.
his was the only life that was lost, and they were able to find his body in the wreckage of the train, still holding on to the throttle of the train. So it's pretty, I mean, if I were his ghost, I would definitely haunt that, you know? Be like...
Don't forget how fucking awesome I am.
Right?
I saved so many people.
Today, the bridge of the accident isn't the same bridge, but there is a bridge in that same location. It's a 100-foot bridge that spans over the river. The bridge itself is said to give off an eerie vibe, and it's just surrounded by nature. I don't think it's used anymore. It's said that this site has been the site of a number of car accidents, accidents by train, and suicides. I did not see any actual events, like instances of those things happening. It's just site after site saying like, this happens there, but no actual reports. Voices have been heard, and strange fog seems to roll in randomly. I think certain places, though, especially places that are close to water, that just happens.
Especially in the Midwest. Although it does happen at very creepy times sometimes.
Really?
Like, I've had it happen to me in a graveyard where it just came out of nowhere. And you definitely feel like, oh yeah, something's really messed up right now and I should run. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. I've told that story on the
Yeah.
podcast before.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Even nearby areas do experience paranormal activity. So it's interesting. It's the story behind what happened there is interesting. I don't think that there were actually a lot of accidents and stuff involved after the fact, but I do believe that there would be like a train conductor that haunts the tracks, you know, because that's his last thing that he did. And it's just such an intense moment. And like I always
Right.
say, like ripples through time. It's such an intense moment. He tried to save all these people, and
Apparently was successful.
it was successful, but the train still like went up in flames. So I believe that. I think that'd be something I would do if I were that conductor. I would haunt that shit. Okay. This next bridge is actually on the National Registry of Historic Places. Apparently, all covered bridges that remain in Kentucky are on the National Registry of Historic Places.
That's interesting.
Because there used to be so many, and now there's like barely any left. So whatever's left is like, take care of this thing.
Historic.
All right, so this next one is called the Colville Covered Bridge in Bourbon County, Kentucky. And it was built in 1877, so quite a long time ago, which makes it totally understandable that you would want it to be kept as a historic monument type thing. And this bridge has gone through decades of reconstruction because it's gone through a whole bunch. There have been instances where like tractors got stuck on it and damaged it, and right now a lot of the traffic that goes through there is like farm equipment and stuff like that. The bridge was dismantled and remantled, I guess, in the 90s.
Reassembled, maybe? Not remantled. I like that better.
I mean, remantle's not a word, but it was put back together and reopened to traffic in 2001. There are a number of ghost stories related to this bridge, and they tend to coincide with the typical quote-unquote haunted bridge stories. And you've definitely heard the tale of, the typical why this bridge is haunted. Supposedly, in the 1930s, two teens were on their way home from prom when they lost control of their car and died after plunging into the waters below. And that's literally the beginning of Susie Q, you know?
Really?
Have you ever seen Susie Q?
Nope.
It has the chick that plays, like, the Pink Ranger.
All I know
As the
about
main character.
Susie Q is that they're a pastry that's made by Hostess.
Really?
That my dad really likes, yeah.
It's just, I love this movie. It's a Disney movie, super cute, very strangely cute. because Susie Q's a ghost, because she dies.
I'm so confused.
It's like her prom night. At the beginning of the movie is a prom night. She goes out, and her car runs off the bridge. She dies. And then jump to modern times. This family moves into her house, and she's the ghost that lives in the house, and so she haunts the family that's there.
It's just like Casper.
It's just, yeah, it's cute. I wish I owned that movie because I love that movie so much.
All I know about Susie Q is my dad, when I first got my license, would be like, hey, I'll give you $20 for gas. Just stop there, pick up a pack of Cool Milds in a box, and some Susie Q's. And that's what I bring him home after I fill my car up.
Okay, anyway. So the legend goes that not long after that incident, locals began seeing ghostly lights under the bridge. Another story claims that a woman named Sarah Mitchell collapsed and died while walking across the bridge, never making it to the other side. Her ghost and those of the teenagers are the main reason visitors come to the bridge at night in hopes of capturing orbs or ghostly vapors.
Vapors?
The lights from below the bridge are supposedly reminiscent of lights from a car shining from the water. There's no pictures, so you don't really know. It's also said that there have been the sounds of an older woman coughing and crying for help, which would be absolutely terrifying.
Or it could be an older woman that's actually there coughing and crying for help.
But just imagine walking into a dark covered bridge, and that's all you hear. Is just this coughing and some woman. I'd be like, witch!
I'd be like, do you need assistance, fellow human being?
What was the show I just watched Nosferatu, okay? And the main character uses bridges to travel between places. And it's a covered bridge. She takes her motorcycle, goes through the covered bridge, and travels to somewhere else. But the first time she goes into the covered bridge, it's dark, there's bats, there's graffiti, it's scary. I just can't even imagine walking through it, you know? No thanks. I'm good.
I hear the night is dark and full of terrors.
Anyway, okay. So, this last one takes us to Illinois, to a bridge that's actually also on the National Register of Historic Places. Seems like these bridges just tend to do that. I don't know. This bridge has been claimed by many to be legitimately haunted. And that statement is funny because there are so many bridges and so many of them claim to be haunted or to have a tragic story behind them, etc., etc. Just like the bridge that I just talked about where it's like the two kids on prom night drive off, whatever. This bridge is connected to an actual murder.
Interesting and awful.
Yes, it is. It is awful. That's why I saved it for last. Between the towns of Bushton and Rardon is the Airtight Bridge. And this bridge stretches almost 200 feet across, so it's a pretty long bridge. And it stretches across the Embarrass River.
Sounds embarrassing.
It's about 8 miles north of Charleston, Illinois. It's a pretty isolated bridge that's hard to come by on accident. There's a lot of back roads, so you'd have to really go out of your way to want to find it. Some say that the bridge earned its name because of the unnatural stillness that's experienced when crossing the bridge, which is terrifying for me. I think the idea of walking through something or walking over something and it's just silent, you know?
You would prefer to sleep without a fan and that unnatural
because it's cold.
Stillness. It's just weird, though, man. Well, one, I like it when it's cold, so.
I grew up with constant traffic. I always hear cars passing by, you know? I always grew up next to a highway. That's just how I'm used to cars.
Stillness, is weird to me. I have to feel like a fan on my skin. We've gone over this a million times.
I'll just lay there and I'll just blow on your face.
That's gross.
Okay. Anyway, it was built in 1914 It was built in 1914 and has since kind of become a common drinking spot for local teens and students from the nearby Eastern Illinois University. I think places like this, like different bridges, stuff like that, always become the hangout spot. Let's just tailgate there or whatever, just chill.
I have a cousin who went to Eastern Illinois.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. On the morning of October 19th, 1980... William and Tim Brown were on a deer hunting trip when they were going down too airtight around 11 a.m., so they were going to pass the bridge, right? As they're crossing this bridge, one of the brothers notices something strange in the water below, so they pull off to the side to investigate it. And what the Browns had found was the naked body of a woman. And at the same time, a farmer named Victor Hargis was on his way to help his son dig a well. And he saw the two of these guys with this partially decomposed body and went down to take a closer look. Because he had no idea what it was. It's just these two dudes with this weird thing.
It looks like a human being, but it's decomposing. So it's like, what the hell is that? And who are those people?
So he went down there to check it out. They just couldn't believe what they'd found. And so Victor immediately goes home, calls the local sheriff's department. The answering deputy takes nearly 20 minutes to navigate all the roads to get to their location. That's absolutely crazy. That's how hard it is to get to this place. Daryl Cox, the said deputy, told local news that, quote, "I could tell from when I got there that the body was missing its head and feet.
What the fuck?
I remember when I saw it standing on the bridge, it didn't look like a person," end quote. It's awful.
That's terrifying. That's terrible.
Police worked through the day with scuba divers searching the river for any clues. Unfortunately, no other body parts were found. It seems like they were cut off, quote-unquote, fairly cleanly. The cause of death was never determined either. What they could tell, somehow I'll never know, is that she was in her 20s and possibly 5'9" and 130 pounds. If you don't have a lot of the body, it's just strange. Like, well, they don't have the head and the feet.
Yeah, I think they just probably estimated based off of like proportions of what they did have.
Yeah. And so this person had dark auburn hair. Medical examiners and pathologists determined that she was also A positive. She'd not been dead more than a day or so, and this led authorities to believe that she was probably killed nearby. There's no evidence of rape or abuse, and without any other of the body parts, it was kind of impossible to determine the definitive cause of death because they don't know if she got hit in the head and that's how she got killed or whatnot. After checking any current missing persons reports filed at the time, it failed to produce any leads for the police. By the 23rd, 4 days later, the sheriff's department suspended the search for clues in and around the river.
So at the 4-day mark, they're like starting to pack it in already.
Well, they were just like, there's nothing we're going to find from the river. That we're done searching that. That's it.
That's nuts. That's crazy to me when there's a head and 2 feet missing.
I mean, I can't imagine what it's like when you're searching for 4 days and you're going up and down this river and you're still not finding anything. By then, imagine all the evidence that's already gone downstream. There's nothing they can do, you know what I mean? A year later, her body was laid to rest under the name Jane Doe because they had no idea who she was. 12 years after the discovery of her body, in 1992, there was a break in the case. So they were able to identify her as Diana Marie Riordan Small, a resident of Bradley, Illinois, which was 100 miles away from where she was found. Apparently, she had disappeared from her home a short time before her body was found. So she'd gone missing, no one filed a missing persons report, and she was found 100 miles away from her home. After determining her identity, her murders started to kind of come together. The reason why they hadn't figured out her identity earlier was because she was never reported missing. Her husband told police that he wasn't concerned because she had left home before, and she would usually just come back. So it's like, if I told you, I was like, hey, I'm leaving, I'm out. You'd be like, all right, I'll see you later. No, that's not how that shit works.
I just, the phrase "they left home before" sounds to me like, well, they've left me before, you know?
I don't know. It's just weird. Okay,
It's very weird. I agree.
Her mother and sister had lost contact with Diana and her husband, so they had no idea what was going on. It wasn't until her sister Virginia moved back to North Carolina and tried to get in touch with her family that she learned about her sister's disappearance. Only then was a missing persons report filed. So they filed it in 1992. That is crazy that she'd been gone for 12 years and no one reported her missing. That's just mind-boggling. Detective Art Bayer saw the report and realized that the description matched that of the Airtight Bridge murder, and a DNA test confirmed the suspicion that it was her. So that's how they figured it out. In October of 2008, her gravestone was replaced with one bearing her actual name.
So it took another 16 years for them to get her a new gravestone with her name on it?
I guess so. After 36 years, on March 2nd, 2017, her husband was charged with her murder. 36 years later.
Took him 36 years to charge the guy.
It's said that he actually confessed after being questioned about it again. And the person that interviewed him before said that it seemed like he was going to confess then, but he didn't actually go through with confessing. I don't know. It's just all this weird stuff. I just think that's absolutely mind-boggling. Many people that visit the bridge today report the uneasy stillness there, and it sometimes lingers around the entire area, not just the bridge. Others claim that the person responsible for the murder returns to relive the murder, so that it's like an apparition that comes and tosses something over the edge or something like that. Though the bridge is used for some late-night ragers, it's still something that is generally avoided for fear of it being haunted. I would just not want to go because it's like bad vibes.
Yeah, it's the site of a murder.
Yeah. There have been reports of apparitions that move across the bridge. Some people say that it's like a mist, like a white, it looks like a sheet that's floating from one end of the bridge, and actually the people on the other side of the bridge can see it when it gets there, which I think is weird. I wonder if it's true. Who knows? There have also been screams heard in the distance and other strange noises. Investigations have also come away with voices recorded on those spirit box devices, which are, if you guys have ever seen Ghost Adventures, it's like that box that just flips through all the radio channels, right? So you just hear static, and then like random voices pop up and say different things. Supposedly it's really difficult to get like the same voice to come through, because it flips through channels so fast. I don't know. But I came across multiple paranormal sites that actually have like the recordings of the things that they hear. And some of them I was like, oh, that's cool. Some of them I'm like, why would that be there? Like someone said something sounded like German or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, people have recorded different stuff like that there. So people have investigated it and had different things happen. So yeah. Those are all the bridges I have for you folks today.
Wow, that last one is really sad.
It is really sad. I can't believe that. I had no idea that I was going to come across true crime doing the bridges thing.
I wonder if anyone asked him after he confessed, like, where did her head and feet go? Why did you remove them?
There's no website or anything that has any of that information.
It is baffling to me that those would be removed, but the hands would be left on the body.
I don't know.
Because fingerprints can identify a body just as readily as anything else, so it's just so weird to me that would happen. I'm very curious as to why the head and the feet were removed and where they went.
Yeah.
Right on. Maybe that's just the supernatural viewer in me, where it's like you have to return those pieces to the grave so they can finally rest. So, but right on. That was really good, Robin. Haunted bridges are definitely interesting. I think it's funny that you found one about a ghost train. It just seems so apropos after watching the Vindicators episode of Rick and Morty. It's so damn funny. But yeah, I think that's just about everything for episode 135. If anyone out there has a story they would like to share with us, it does not have to be related to our topics. It could just be something that's scary, spooky, paranormal, coincidental. You could have a true crime story. We definitely want to hear them, and if you would like us to share them on our Storytime episodes, we'd be happy to do that. Just let us know in the email, and you can reach out to the email address storytime@scaryish.com, or go to our website, scaryish.com, and click on Contact Us. You can also send us a message on any of our social medias. We have Facebook, which is facebook.com/scariyishpodcast, Twitter, which is @scariyishpod, and Instagram, which is @scariyishpodcast. Wherever you feel most comfortable reaching out to us, we are there, and we'd be happy to take your story. For anyone who would like to donate to us, Robin, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scariyishpodcast. We have available these Mothman acrylic keychains that I designed, got manufactured. It took a really long time to get them in. There was a bunch of issues that came up with it, but I finally have them in my hands. I packaged a whole bunch of them today. All our current patrons, and dating all the way back to March, if you were a Badge of Honor patron and above, you folks are getting these charms for the summer. And if you want to join and be a Badge of Honor patron or above, go ahead and go to patreon.com/Scaryish podcast, because they're very limited in number. I only have a few left. And then if you just want to do one-time donations, you can go to ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup and help us keep going, especially in these ridiculously trying times. And we couldn't do any of this stuff without you guys.
It's very true. And we sincerely appreciate all the donations, everyone who listens and watches and supports us in ways that don't have anything to do with money. And everyone who listens and doesn't say anything. They're just there consistently. We see the number and it means a lot because it lets us know that someone out there is listening to us. I mean,
yeah.
Reading 2017 stuff for me today, it hit me in the end of November, beginning of December is when we started this podcast. And I remember thinking I wonder if anyone will listen to this. And when you say that, I don't think you really understand what I mean, but it was literally I wonder if a single person will listen to our show.
And now we have amazing spooky friends who are I'm making my significant other listen to with me. Every week they're stuck listening and watching the live stream with me.
So it's been a journey over the last 2.5 years, without a doubt, and that's because of you folks. It sincerely is. So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, y'all. And if you want to watch us record the Storytime episodes live, we do that Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. and that's Pacific time, so it's 8:30 Central and 9:30 Eastern. And we read usually around 4 ghost stories. I mean, if you've heard the episodes on Friday come out, it's the same thing, except you get to see us read it live and interact with us through the chat, which is a really fun time. So we encourage you to come out and watch us at twitch.tv/Scaryish podcast or youtube.com/Scaryish. So hopefully you all can make it to that. If you haven't before, it's a fun experience, and everyone that shows up for the first time seemed to enjoy it. So let that be you this week, and we hope to see you there. But I think that's just about everything we have for this episode of Scaryish. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.